Hi everyone! I hope you can hear me. Today's been a bit of a mad rush. Thank you for hanging around. I think I'm only like 1 minute late, but sorry for being late anyway. Please let me know if you can hear me and everything. Only while the intro was running, I was like, I haven't turned my microphone on, so it's all a bit crazy. I had so many screenshots from this week. I don't know. I feel like every week I'm getting more and more. Things are getting crazier and crazier. And I was editing screenshots right up until 2 minutes before. So I hope the presentations come together well. So for anyone who's the first time, welcome to the TERF Wars. This is the show where I go through the last week's worth of nonsense from gender critical, TERF, transphobes, and other LGBT issues and feminist issues. All of the rubbish they've been saying, the stupid things they've been up to. And this has been a stupid week. Most weeks are stupid weeks. This one is one of them, where they have some nonsense thing that they've all been doing. And yeah, anyway, so the goal of the show is to go through, look at their ideas, discuss them, laugh at them together, debunk them together, and then be done with them. And it's like a way of getting that out, because sometimes some of this stuff is just so mad that if you keep it inside, you'll go crazy, and you just have to turn around to someone else who gets it and go, what the fuck is this? And then you can just at least know that you're both seeing this same crazy. So we're about to see a lot of crazy. Anyway, I have gone through and attempted to, hopefully I've got them on this week, anonymize all the screenshots of like random people. The idea is to look at their ideas and not to target them as people or anything. So please don't go and search for these. I have left some uncensored where they're from bigger accounts. And I think we're just about to start with one that's like that. But I think sometimes it's useful to see when it's a bigger account, you know, who's saying it. So that's why we have it. Anyway, let's get going. So let's move on to our first screenshot. So the start of the show is going to be looking at like newsy stuff, and then we'll get onto some of the main topics, I guess. And I think it's worth pointing out, we kind of covered this a little bit last week, but I think this is the year that the Americans properly enter the fray. This has been a very British focused thing, the sort of pushback against trans rights. You know, there are countries that have worse trans rights, but this gender critical movement has been very British. And last week, Trump got involved, or maybe this week, I can't even remember. Time all blurs together in the lockdown. But Trump, you know, said this like defending women, sports stuff. And so the Americans are going to get involved, and no offense, Americans, but whenever you get involved, everything always gets a lot crazier very quickly. So this is one of America's literally infinite number of blonde white women who have a blue tick on Twitter and say stupid things. So whoever Lauren Witzker is, I don't know, but she said, first they banned Milo, as in Milo Yiannopoulos, who was like some far-right person who ended up getting cancelled for supporting paedophilia, I think. I'm not totally sure. She said, first they banned Milo, then they banned the president, now Dr. Seuss. After they cancel the Bible, all that will be left is transgender brothels and Netflix. Don't know. Sure, lots of people would think that would be good, mate. Yeah, so obviously all the offended, infinitely offended people this week, one of their main things was that Dr. Seuss's estate, which owns all of his work, decided they didn't want to reprint a few of the books because they had racist stereotypes in. So that got everyone offended, everyone who hasn't read any of those books because they were published like in the 1920 or something. Nonsense. Anyway, we'll move on. So as I was saying, this is the week that Donald Trump got involved. So it was this week. So here's Candace Owens, who is a very big Republican talking person who says things. Just a knobhead like me, I presume. Anyway, she said, if you guys are wondering what actual feminism is, it's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump having the courage to stand up on a stage and call out the insanity of biological men dominating women's sports. So, like, this is now mainstream. This is like worldwide mainstream. Donald Trump, Candace Owens, like all these huge people, Tucker Carlson, they're all going to start saying these gender critical talking points. And it's not going to become the main focus for them, I don't think. I really hope not. I think they're always going to be focused on race and like abortion and gay marriage, but they've not really gone all in on trans stuff till now. This is like the moment where gender critical hits the Republican Party. So I don't know, I kind of like potentially this could be good because it will show who's saying it. Like all the Republicans are just going to pick up all the gender critical talking points almost word for word and just run with them because it's a whole set of, things published and networks and all this kind of stuff already. And it will hopefully make all the, centrist and left-wing and even like mild right-wing people in the UK realise that like this is a Republican thing. So that's one possible good thing. Another thing is that potentially Donald Trump will latch onto this and then Trumpism will die. And if that's the case, he might sink it. There'll be a few, if Trump, comes back strong or there's a new version of Trump like Ted Cruz or something, and they do really well, then the next president could be like that. It could be a total disaster. However, if his QAnon cult thing just gets more and more crazy and smaller and starts losing support and they lose a few elections in a row, then the majority Republicans will drop them and they'll drop their crazier ideas. And, if they latch onto this, then maybe this will be one of them. So it's all up in the air. We don't know. Anyway, scary times. So if you remember last week, this week was Dr. Seuss. Last week, everyone was offended by Potato Head. So this guy says, there are only two genders, male and female, blah, blah, blah. That's it. If you have an issue with that, crack open a Bible. It's right there in black and white. Hashtag Mr. Potato Head. So this is the guy who, the executive producer or something of CBN News. I don't know who they are, an American news network. This is hilarious because it's just a generic, I don't understand what I'm talking about. This isn't like an old school anti-trans talking point. This is what the Republicans used to say. There are only two genders. That's like the classic, doesn't really fly in the UK. No gender critical people really say that. So I think this is going to be less of a thing that you see in America, and you're going to see more of this defending sex-based rights stuff. But it's so funny that it's this generic thing that he's put hashtag Mr. Potato Head on the end. But then also, again, remember that the whole point in this toy is that you can switch the features. So you could put a mustache and eyelashes, whatever the female things are. I don't know. It's all just gender stereotypes, isn't it? You can mix them up. That's the whole point. Anyway, so this lady says, David, serious question. How do we know a toy potato is male? And he says, serious answer, because Hasbro had advertised the toy as male and he has a mustache. So what you're saying is, if someone advertises themselves as male, then you accept them as male? That's a bit of a cell phone, isn't it? Dickhead. Yeah, so that's a complete fail. But this is what I mean by it's kind of the Americans weren't really up on the game with the cutting edge gender critical rhetoric. One thing I do worry about is they might go very hard in on this thing that we've been talking about on the XX Factor, which is my other show, which runs on Saturdays, where anti-Semitism is becoming more of a thing, which is quite scary. And, the American right has had a problem with that recently. But yeah, so more American stuff. Sorry, Americans, I'm not ripping on you. We're about to get the craziest thing in ages, and it's mainly British people. So we'll just get the American stuff out of the way. So this is from Gab, which is Twitter for Nazis. I don't know. It's a free speech platform which only holds free speech for right-wing people and turns off comments on all of their tweets, which is ironic that someone has to point out every single time. Anyway, I just thought this is an absolutely amazing quote. So Gab, they're like Parler. A while ago, Parler got hacked, and one of the people leading it was actually a non-binary person. And this they've been hacked, and they've been hacked by a different trans person, which, you know, it's kind of funny. Kind of feel a bit proud. But anyway, so this guy, I think he's like the CEO of Gab, or he's some high position, Andrew Torbat, and he says, mentally ill tranny demon hackers, I'm very serious, are attacking Gab right now. I'm very serious, guys. Literally true. They're not just mentally ill, they're demons. So, you know, using mentally ill as an insult is kind of lame, but I'll take on demon hacker. I mean, it wasn't me, by the way. FBI. I haven't done any hacking of Gab, but like, you know, if you want to call me a demon hacker, the rest is just blah blah blah. I think they found some SQL vulnerability where they're able to get all of the DMs of people or something, or they had top level privilege and they got this guy to post, like they could post Gabs, I don't know what they're called, tweets from his account. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I think the thing where he says something completely unbelievable and then just says, I'm actually serious, just kind of shows the level of credibility and why they ended up with an SQL vulnerability. Anyway, for anyone who doesn't know like tech stuff, I guess that's kind of like an entry level way of hacking a website. If you have SQL vulnerabilities, it's kind of basic. And Gab like took most of their code from another Twitter clone called Mastodon, and they don't have that problem. So this is code that Gab has added in. I don't know that much about it. It's probably worth going and looking up about it if it's your kind of thing. But it was you know, well done to those tranny demon hackers out there, you know, fighting the man. Right. So we're just going to briefly touch on this again. And like the potato head thing, this is something we covered last week. So if you missed out, perhaps go and watch the last episode. There was a few tweets that happened that missed the cut last week because they happened on the Friday or the Saturday. And I just wanted to kind of cover these. So what happened basically was the UK bills for Parliament are all written in gender neutral language and have been since 1997, I think. Or 2007. They have been for over a decade anyway, has been the standard to write all bills gender neutral, which was like a feminist thing. And just recently, of course, the gender criticals have all kicked off about that. And there was some bill for pregnant people, which should have been passed decades ago, but was finally passed. And they specifically changed the language so it didn't say pregnant people, and so it said mothers, because, you know, they just wanted to take that away from trans men, basically. There's no advantage to it. You know, no one gains anything. But I'm not going to go on another rant about that because we did that one last week. But, like, this reply, I don't know quite what to feel about this reply. So his Labour Women's Declaration saying, you know, yay, we took away some pathetic word game for trans people. And then, so this person says, I was misty-eyed at this decision. Then I realised how utterly sad that is. I'm overcome with gratitude that I can call myself a mother by law. That's where we are. Like, no, that isn't where we are. I mean, by law, you're allowed to call yourself whatever you want because you have the freedom of speech to talk about yourself. But also, like, the term mother applies to you because you are a mother. That was never what this was about. This was actually only about Parliament, and all of the bills about pregnancy already say pregnant people in them and they don't say mother in them. But like, I mean, this person must genuinely believe this to a degree. I mean, maybe they're just making up nonsense for Twitter, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if there were, you know, this person really genuinely thought that women are under attack and that they weren't allowed to call themselves a mother anymore, and they felt like crying at this like, finally they're free kind of thing. And it's just so ridiculous. And it just shows what grip these people have over, just innocent normal people. I mean, maybe this person's putting on, but I have no reason to believe this person doesn't genuinely think what they've said. And like the media and these organizations who are just lying to people about what's at stake. I mean, what has happened here is this person thinks that the word to describe themselves was about to be taken away, but quite literally the opposite has happened. What has happened is the words have been taken away from trans men, and these people haven't gained anything. Nothing has changed for them at all. All they've done is just taken something away from 0.1% of the population. It's horrible. And it's horrible that people think like that's some kind of victory. Sorry, Poppy is now here. Ooh. Poppy says hi. Anyway, that was quite, I don't know. And then here's some, I don't know, right-wing journalists, and one of them says some bullshit, and then the other one says, the plan to abolish women has hit a speed bump. The plan to abolish women? Like, what are you talking about? This was literally a law that's already been there for over a decade, and it doesn't abolish anyone. It literally just, I mean, this is a law to protect women's rights that we need, that all the trans people wanted. And it was also going to be a law to protect trans men's rights. And now, I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows if it goes to court, because they've explicitly taken them out of the law. So, nonsense. But like, as well as them being like innocent people who have no idea what's going on, who think something is going to be taken away from them, there's also people like this who are journalists who, this is, their job to find out about this, and they're just lying. It's just nonsense. They know there's not a plan to abolish women. It's pathetic. Anyway, on to some real bullshit. So this is a group called We Are Fair Cop, who we've covered a few times, who are comparing police holding an LGBT rainbow flag, pride flag, to the Nazis marching. Utterly ridiculous. If this had just come out of nowhere, this would be a very generic, like 4chan-esque, outright kind of post where they, like, calling LGBT people Nazis it's quite an old school, bigoted thing to do. But these people have a history and a reputation of this kind of thing. This is their famous post. This group, by the way, claims to not be a hate group, but here is them saying, "Say yes to hate" on Trans Day of Remembrance, which, so the West Yorkshire Police have said, today's Trans Day of Remembrance, which, by the way, is the day where we remember all of the trans people killed for being trans by transphobic hatred. Like, that's the entire point of the day. The police have said, we honour those people who have lost their lives due to hatred, and then they posted this picture saying report hate crimes, and as well as, there's a symbol for trans people in there somewhere. Then it's symbol for gay people, it's disabled people, women, Jewish people. And these people have just said, say yes to hate. So I am actually not sure how safe it is to even say what this group really are, because they're incredibly litigious. So who knows? But I think, if you can't point out that these people are saying, say yes to hate trans people, and you can't call that hate group, what can you say? Who knows? But maybe I can't say that, so I'm not going to say that. If you're worrying about what you can even say about people like this, then they're obviously trying to shut down your freedom of speech, which, ironically, is exactly what they're trying to claim the police holding an LGBT flag is. Their followers actually weren't happy with this post. They actually got quite a lot of flack from gender critical people. Quite a lot of people said they unfollowed them because it's disgusting. I mean, it's just straight up disgusting. I feel like I'm quite desensitized to this kind of thing. But I think, people encountering this are just like, what is this? Like, it's vile. Anyway, they then doubled down on it. They actually then tripled down on it, and they just kept going and going. And then they're doing something where they're like, here's a pride celebration, and then there's the police with pride. I mean, like, quite famously, no pride at the police is a thing that quite a lot of LGBT people say, and there's a history between the police and LGBT people. Anyway, whether or not you like the police supporting pride, they often do, and there are often LGBT people in the police. Then they've got it like some leads, so they've got like police supporting the pride here, and they've got police supporting pride here, and then they've got a thing where some gender critical people were removed from pride because they were protesting pride and holding up and like abusing people. So that like the police being at pride does lead to anti-LGBT people being removed, yes. And then they've just got this like utterly horrible just jump straight to Jewish people being marched to concentration camps. Like, it's disgusting. Like, these people are disgusting. So vile. And I'm kind of like pleased to see the number of gender critical people who did speak up, because the ones who spoke up will be less than all the ones who had a problem with it. But quite a lot of them did support it too. So, I mean, it didn't get that many likes. What did the first one get? 79. This one got 39. Probably got more in the end. But like, it's just disgusting. Disgusting people. So while we're talking about things related to that topic, here is our friend Jennifer Bilek, who was quite instrumental to, I don't know if it's quite key to the last episode of the XX Factor, which, if you have the stomach for, like, if this kind of thing's horrified you already, I genuinely don't recommend you watch it. But if you want to know more about the overlap of these things, these topics that we're currently talking about, then it's worth knowing. And this person is very influential in the gender critical movement. Like, most of the big gender critical people have said that, like, have just straight up said that she's very influential to them. Like, they often link to her blog, all this kind of stuff. So this is the newest post from her blog since our episode. So probably in response to our episode. And she has said, anti-Semite is the new TERF. And of course, the context here is that they think TERF is a slur. So I'm not going to offer any comments on this, but I think it doesn't need any. Like, it's all just horrible. Why? What is this? It's disgusting. What's wrong with these people? But interestingly, an update. Another thing that we covered. Sorry, I'm just talking about my other show. It's good. Another thing we covered was that this person, Jennifer Bilek, was going to be talking at some conference called "The Countess Didn't Fight for This." No, the Countess didn't fight for this. Talking with Helen Joyce, who is some high up at The Economist, which is why The Economist always puts out so much rubbish. And Jennifer Bilek was going to be talking with her, and now mysteriously, like 3 days after our episode, she's not anymore. So I don't know, might be related, might not be related. But it's worth knowing about who's influencing who in all of these things, I think. And, who's still supporting this person after this. Quite a lot of them, I think. Anyway, I think that's most of the really heavy stuff. I mean, this is still the same topic, actually. So one of the things that we talked about was how there's certain newish conspiracy theories that I'm starting to see more and more in the TERF wars on the front lines. And where was I going? Oh yeah. Anyway, one of the things is that this lady Martine Rothblatt invented trans rights in 2009. Basically, that's something that Jennifer Bilek came up with, or it's something that she, I don't know if she invented it, but it's something that she promotes, and so this this person said, I had a trans person tell me that trans women are subject to the same discriminations that women are. I mean, yeah. That they have no male privilege. I mean, controversial, whatever. But they said, I asked, are you telling me that Martine Rothblatt didn't benefit from male privilege before transitioning? And their reply, I've never heard of her. I mean, that was my reply too, like 3 weeks ago. Who's her? I mean, who in chat right now had heard of this lady before we talked about her last week? Martine Rothblatt. She's kind of just a person, but has been targeted by a few people, and it's now become this conspiracy theory. And so this person has replied, why would she know who that is? I don't know who that is. I'm sure many people don't know who that is. And then this person's like, for fuck's sake, Martine Rothblatt is a founding father of the modern gender ideology behind the Yogacarta principles that underpin most of the teaching of gender that goes on today. And then this amazing line, it's like a Christian. No, it's like calling yourself a Christian and then saying, who is Jesus? Martine Rothblatt is the Jesus of trans people. What? So this is like Jennifer Billick influence is what we're suggesting. Just worth noticing this, because I hadn't seen this kind of, like, if I had seen someone saying this before, I would have definitely highlighted. I would have remembered it, because that is hilariously crazy. But I've now seen it quite a few times in the wild in the last few weeks, so it's definitely more of a thing now. So we are now on to the main ridiculous brain rot of the week, and that is the cult that has formed around this single tweet. So this is everyone's least favourite author, JK Rowling. So this is like her main coming out as gender critical tweet. Probably seen it before. She says, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating sex is real. I stand with Mayor, this is not a drill. So, like, if you don't know what this is about, go and look it up. It's nonsense. No one was forced out of their jobs for stating sex is real. Like, this whole thing's phrased in a kind of grim way. But this was the moment that, like, one of the most famous people in the world said, I am gender critical, and she clearly said it. So, I mean, obviously it got loads of likes because it's a very famous person saying something. Loads of people would have seen this and been like, oh yeah, you shouldn't force women out of their jobs for stating sex is real, because you shouldn't, because that's not a thing that ever happens. Anyway, so obviously all the gender critical people liked it. They all retweeted it and they all quote tweeted it, and it was all fine. But like, Twitter gets millions of tweets, like, all the time. So the tech issues, like how are you, if you wanted to build a service that had to handle, I don't know how many tweets Twitter gets, millions a second maybe. It gets a lot of tweets, and it's got to keep track of where all these tweets come from, you know, who said them, who they're replying to. It's got to keep track of every single like, who liked it, every single retweet. It's got to keep track of the times, sometimes the locations, sometimes it's got, like, there is a lot of data to handle. So from what I understand, what Twitter does is once a tweet gets to a certain age, they kind of think, well, this is kind of done now. So they just kind of save all the data to cold storage, which is where they put it to like slower memory, which is cheaper. It's all tech stuff. But what is important is once tweets get to a certain age, the behavior changes. And it means that, you know, if you've got like, sorry, there's loads of cat hair in this room. If you've got like 250,000 likes and some new person likes it, you don't really need to save that to the database, because it's kind of a waste of resources, because, you know, most people aren't going to be looking at old tweets, and most tweets with like tens of thousands of likes, if you like add one more on, it's not going to make any difference. But this tweet, because it's something to do with gender critical, is like sacred. It's like holy to them. And this is not an exaggeration. I don't think, if you don't know about this, you're not ready for how ridiculous this is. So Just to remember, this was from the 19th of December 2019. So well over a year old now. So Julia Hartley-Brewer, who's like a right-wing radio presenter or something, she says, what's going on here? This JK Rowling tweet, standing up for women's rights, is still up, and I definitely liked it when it posted, but you've unliked it for me, and every time I click the like button, this happens. And she's done a video of her clicking it, and it comes off. So, I mean, quite blatantly a tech issue. Someone's flagged this to her, because this is actually a gender-critical conspiracy theory that has been running for like almost ever since this tweet was tweeted. The idea that you'll see. So she got some replies, and this all kicked off again. It was this kind of, there's a few people saying the same thing happened to me. I just concluded this one because it's really embarrassing. This person said, same thing started happening with my pinned tweet, which was a woke joke. How many women does it take to change a light bulb? Define women. Like, hilarious. Maybe there just weren't many likes on it, mate. Anyway, there was a lot of other types of tweet replying to this and people talking about this event. Here is, and I cannot stress this enough, a tiny selection of some of the tweets. And this is why I was so late to this episode. I didn't have time to put emojis on all of these like I normally do. There is so many of these nonsense tweets, and I just wanted to sort them into categories. So this is a page of people who think there's some kind of giant conspiracy theory going on to remove likes from that one JK Rowling tweet. That is genuinely the state of gender critical that we're at the moment. So just going to read out a few of them here. Someone's like, same here, just tried it. This is Soviet-style control, big tech manipulation, a bit like how Biden won the election, freedom of speech on Twitter unless it disagrees with the narrative of the host. This is so sinister. It's deliberate. It's Twitter trying to silence women. Twitter hates women so much that it won't allow women to like a tweet. So from now on, I'll always quote tweet it instead. Thanks for the awareness of this. It's utterly sinister. Some of these are absolutely mad. You're being watched. You've made an impression. Keep up the good work. Twitter won't allow this tweet to be liked. Twitter hates women. I like this tweet each and every time as much as when it was first posted. But after sinister, captured year, too crucial. I don't even know what that person's talking about. We're in the middle of a cultural revolution. Socially engineering. Like, where has this come from? Why? Like, this is, by the way, this is lipstick on my arm. And I don't know. There are some conspiracy theories where you just like, I can see where that's come from. Like, did they really land on the moon? Yes. But, it's a technological feat and it seems kind of incredible and it's very, like, out of this world. That wasn't meant to be a pun and then I suddenly realised it was going to be. That, to me, is, like, as conspiracy theories go, kind of a more sensible one. And then they just step up. And you get to ones where they'll say something. Twitter is taking away the likes from women liking a single JK Rowling tweet from over a year ago, but also it's got 200 and something thousand likes already. So they haven't they haven't deleted the tweet, they're not silencing it, they're not censoring it, they're not making it so it doesn't show up in people's feeds. What they've chosen to do, apparently, part of this conspiracy theory, what they've chosen to do is cap the likes at 230,000. And that's silencing people somehow. That's Twitter's attack on biological natal women's sex-based rights. Like, what are you on about? What would this even achieve? Why would anyone do it? And also, if you were going to do it, like, if you wanted to do it so the likes disappeared, clearly, when someone liked it, you would tell them that their like had gone through. And then you just wouldn't update the total number. And they would never know. It's so obviously a tech issue. And even if it wasn't a tech issue, what they're proposing doesn't make any sense at all. And this is not a small thing. This isn't me searching, like, there are so many of these tweets. If you go on the quote tweets for this, which has 33,000 quote tweets, if you go on, you cannot load them all, and they are all like this. All of them are about some conspiracy theory. And they aren't just people claiming that it's like the Soviets or, people watching you or the middle of a cultural revolution. There are people like these people who are saying, at times, I've really reliked it numerous times a day for over a year, and it will disappear. I have liked this tweet 1,000 times. I have liked this tweet over 50 times. My like has gone. I've liked this tweet several times this morning. Every time I do, it goes back. I have always reliked it most days, and often several times in one day, but it never seems to stick. I've liked this over 100 times. Thanks for reminding me to like this tweet for the 50 millionth time. I've just liked this post multiple times over the last few months. This person's come up with a little agenda for themselves. Hit snooze, get up, have a coffee, re-like the JK Rowling tweet. I'm still liking this tweet no matter how many times it's taken away. I've liked this tweet 58 times. This 58 person, by the way, has their pinned thread is them keeping track of how many times they've reliked it. They are one of several people who I didn't even have time to edit for this, who have been keeping a diary of the times that they've reliked this tweet. And some people are on like 200, where they've got the dates where they've reliked this tweet. I've liked this 7 times today. I'm into significantly large double figures and reliking this tweet. I've pinned this tweet so I can remember to relike it every day. Got to remember to like this daily. I have to relike this every other day. Keep it up. If you erase likes, we'll keep on reliking. Like, the state of this. What's that quote that probably Einstein didn't say but is always attributed to him? Like, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Like, that's pretty much perfectly what is going on here. It's like watching like a chicken or something touch an electric fence and get zapped, and they just do it over and over again, literally every single day for over a year. Like, what are you doing? Surely you would like something and it wouldn't stick, and you would like something and it wouldn't stick. And like, okay, we'll be very charitable. You might like it every single day for a week and it doesn't stick, and you might be like, maybe there's a crazy conspiracy, or maybe there's a tech issue with this tweet or with big tweets or with old tweets or something. And you just be like, oh, okay. But because this tweet, like, it represents the day that the biggest gender critical person in the world joined the battle. It was like a turning point in their history. It's a really big day. I wanted to find, but again, I couldn't find it because there were so many quote tweets that Twitter couldn't load them all. With saying this stuff, there are people who on the 19th of December last year were celebrating JK Rowling Tweet Day, the day that she wrote this tweet, and like putting it as their banner profiles, and it's like a ritual. It's like a holy text. It's like some kind of I don't know, sacred icon. It's like a religion. It is mad. And the crazy doesn't stop here. So here are a group of people, admittedly less of them. So I just screenshotted like the top 100 and I sorted them as much as I could before I ran out of time. So you can see the ratios. It's about 1-to-1 for the people who think it's some crazy conspiracy and people who have liked it like 100 times. These people, for some reason, think that there are people working at Twitter whose job is to like press unlike manually. Twitter keeps deleting comments and likes on this post, and under gender critical posts, censorship often works in the best and subtle manners to make sure there's no opposing view. I'm pretty sure Twitter men are patrolling this tweet at all times. There must be dozens of workers dedicated solely to deleting likes from JK Rowling's tweets. The Twitter gang is preventing people from liking this tweet. So this person's noticed the like count's gone up. Whoever normally controls it must be away on holiday. is showing 218 likes. Blows my mind how sinister and fucked up it is for Twitter to actively cap likes. Like, what are you talking about? Why would they hire someone to unlike something when they could get a computer to do it? Like, you just cap the like. It just doesn't make any sense. It's actually broken my brain how unbelievable the amount of people involved in this. And of course, by the way, of course, trans people and allies and people who aren't ridiculous conspiracy theorists are pointing out, like, it's probably a tech issue. Why would they try and censor likes? Like, if they wanted to stop the tweet, they would have stopped the tweet. They wouldn't just take away the like. And it's got 200,000. And it's not just random nobodies. Here's a load of bigger people involved in it, like James Dreyfus, Rosie Duffield, who's a member of Parliament, like an actual elected person who is in on this, who thinks it's sinister that likes are capped. Alison Bailey, head of LGBT Alliance, Women's Liberation Front, like, they all think this. It's because we're in Gender Critical is such a tight network. And it's like with this Jennifer Bilek stuff, someone comes up with an idea and they will believe that. Like, it spreads and it sticks. And because you cannot criticize once, in this like culty environment, you can't say, oh, that's transphobic, or, oh, that doesn't make any sense, or, in a way, this is transphobic because they're suggesting that some random tweet is somehow sinisterly silencing women because, it's nothing to do with that. It's just a tech issue. But because they all repeat it to each other, and like the whole of Gender Critical is all about repeating things until they become true. If you hear something enough, you believe it. And that's how the whole movement is built to work. That's how they get people in. They just keep retweeting the same pictures of Karen White. They just keep talking about the same things. And it doesn't matter if you've debunked it or shown it's wrong or it's completely nonsense, because, who cares? It's just that this is how we indoctrinate people. We just say the same things over and over again. Then everyone believes it, and they all start believing their own lies, and then all of the big names get involved, and then it's just a fact. That's just it now. Now it's just like your moral duty as a gender critical citizen to like the sacred tweet every morning after you've had your coffee. So this is just one of the funny replies. This is another two bigger gender critical men who are both right wing. One of them's like, my likes disappeared, and then the other one says, my likes disappear from my own tweets as well. You shouldn't be liking your own tweets, mate. Anyway, just to like cap off how ridiculous this is, not only are they reliking and pinning it and like all telling each other there's some man paid to take the likes off a tweet, they've actually made a bot which nearly 400 people follow, which tweets out, is your like still there? You need to go and re-like this tweet. Like, telling people to go and like a tweet. And the bio is so cringe. Has your like disappeared from JK Rowling's groundbreaking tweet? Ugh, makes me feel ill. Like, at this stage, I don't even care that, you want to take away my rights, and JK Rowling's campaigning for something which would ruin the lives of minorities working across the whole of the UK. Like, can we just put that to one side and just address how utterly ridiculous this is? You think that it's groundbreaking that she tweeted, sleep with anyone who would have you in some kind of derogatory manner. Like, what? Oh, God. I feel like I'm speechless at how ridiculous this is. Subscribe for a daily reminder to re-like. Unbelievable, the state of this. And I need to share this with you guys because, my mind is going to melt if, you're seeing how crazy this is, right? Anyway, we'll try and move on because we've got some general brain rot to get through. I try and end every episode on the general brain rot. Cover the main topics, then we just end on some funny brain rot. I think there's actually one piece of grim brain rot to come up, but some of this is hilarious. We're going to end on some funny ones. This person, just to open the brain rot segment of this episode, says, and I'm going to read all of the words as are written down here. Climate change, believe in science, gender ignore biologists. Cool, right? So I think that just sets the tone. I'm not even going to address that. I get this person says, this is a very tedious and common gender critical point. And this has come, LGBT Alliance said this, and I think it's why they're all saying it. Someone says, many gay and lesbian people oppose same-sex marriage. Are you saying they're homophobic as well? Yes. Katie Montgomery says, if you oppose gay marriage, you're homophobic, even if you're gay. Because it's homophobic to want to restrict someone from doing the same things as other people just because of their sexuality. I mean, that's what homophobia is. Why this is so common in gender critical is because they use this exact strategy for trans people. They'll say, many trans people oppose trans rights. Are you saying they're transphobic? Like, everyone has seen that tweet. And you all know which 5 trans people they're talking about. But, like, it's a standard pattern. Minority agrees with me. Are you saying they're anti-minority? And it's just a way of making an excuse to themselves. Saying, like, everyone's calling me transphobic, but I can't be transphobic because there's one trans person I know who agrees with me. So I now no longer have to address my own position to see whether it's irrational prejudice. And of course, as soon as you've learnt that, when people are calling you transphobic because you're trying to ban people from the facilities they've used their whole life, and then everyone calls you transphobic, you can either stop back and think and see whether your position is actually rational, which it isn't, or you can come up with some excuse as to why you don't have to think about it. So you'll see all these other gender critical people saying, oh, some trans people agree with this. In fact, many trans people agree with this, so you can just ignore that. And then you see homophobes saying the same thing, and it's just the same pattern. You know, you've seen this argument strategy before and it makes sense to you, so you just repeat that, and then before you know it, you're opposing gay marriage. Like, you've just been tricked into saying a stupid homophobic point. Oh, I forgot about this one. Buck Angel, who is a famous trans man. There was someone pointed out the other day, now Elliot Page is the most famous trans man, so so Buck Angel here says, if trans people, brace for this one because it makes absolutely no sense. If trans people are men and women, then why did they create this term cisgender? That makes no sense to me. Cis people are men and women too. And the reason we have that term is so we can differentiate them from trans men and women. Do I need to explain that? Like, who writes these things out? And of course it got 1,200 likes because denying the word cis exists or trying to shut people down from using it is a key part of stopping trans people from talking about their oppression. You cannot have trans liberation without having the words to describe the groups involved. You couldn't fight for gay rights without the word straight or heterosexual equivalent. You couldn't fight for, equal rights for all races if you weren't even allowed to say white people. It's ridiculous. You have to be able to talk about all the groups and all of the power groups, and that's why they don't want you talking about them. So if we can find a convenient trans person to make a fuss about the word cis, then we'll all like the tweet, and it makes us feel better about shutting people down from using words to describe their position. Ridiculous. Who comes out with this stuff? Imagine writing that and then reading it back to yourself and being like, send tweet. Ugh. I've not seen many ducks in the chat, anyone. Oh, this one's really grim, actually. So this lady, the top person, is a really nice person, genuinely nice. I'm not going to say who she is, but shout out if she's watching. And so she said, personally, when I'm misgendered, which happens a lot, and it hurts, but I understand that I don't pass. If it's an honest mistake, I just let it slide and usually ignore it and quietly feel bad. If done on purpose, I will challenge it, and I won't treat that person with respect. I think this is, the most reasonable possible position if anything, like possibly too forgiving, because, you know, sometimes people say it by accident and them being corrected is fine. You should be able to, but I totally understand, and I myself wouldn't either. You know, when someone say the wrong thing, it's very difficult to challenge them on them, because it's like, you know, trans people making the fuss. Oh, it's the crazy angry trans person. Oh, you know, it's ma'am, you know, like the meme of that lady getting angry. So there's a reputation of trans people flipping out when you call them the wrong pronoun by accident. And it just doesn't happen. And they have one example that they can all point to. And this is the kind of thing that happens across the entire world every single day. Every single trans person has been misgendered hundreds of times to their face, and they've just felt terrible about it. And that's it. And, you know, whether it's an accident or not, if it's an accident, then, you know, accidents happen, and it's an unfortunate reality of being trans that people accidentally misgender you, and it's going to make you feel bad sometimes. And this lady is right. If it's done on purpose and you feel safe and comfortable challenging it, then good. And why would you respect someone who misgenders you on purpose? Like, child, grow up. Anyway, this person, this is a gender critical person who's been at this for a while, and they said, I really hope it hurts. I hope it hurts so much that you stay in your lane. Live life as your best self, but don't steal other people's identity. Like, just imagine someone saying, very reasonably, like, this thing to respect me as a human sometimes doesn't happen, and I try not to make a fuss unless it's malicious. And then you're like, good, I hope you suffer. Like, what's wrong with you, disgusting person? Like, just vile transphobia. This person, this is the kind of person you see all the time, and I just thought this is a very good example of it. And you say this person hates trans people. I mean, this person hates trans people. That's completely uncontroversial. And they'll be like, oh, you see, everyone hates her. Like, they do. There's no other reasonable explanation for this. No one says, I hope you suffer, to someone saying, oh, if it's an honest mistake, then I just feel quietly sad to myself. Like, fuck off. Absolute waste of a person. And then, also worth pointing out, don't steal other people's identities. Like, half the gender critical argument is that woman isn't an identity. It doesn't make any sense. And this is like the duality of gender critical. It is about a fear of being replaced and people taking what's rightfully yours. And then it's spun in a way to not sound like that because it sounds unreasonable. But for so many people, that is literally the root of this. Transphobia. This lady is taking nothing from anyone by existing. And she happens to be a really nice person too. So she's probably, you know, just improving the lives of people around her. But you feel threatened by that because you're a shit person. So anyway, I didn't put this at the end because I didn't want to end on a rant, but this person's disgusting. Right, so let's move on to something more funny so I don't get grumpy. So this person has decided that my name is Haiti, and they're very proud of coming up with Haiti. I can't remember if we've had Haiti so far on TERF Wars, but they, like, the gender criticals love coming up with names for me, so they don't have to say my real name because they're adults and they're rational and they're capable of making good arguments without resorting to name calling. But this person also, and the reason I've included 3 here, so they call me Haiti, but they also are telling all these different people, these are to different people, that I have loads of sock accounts, which is where you make like an anonymous Twitter account for some reason. So this person's like saying, we all have Katie and all her socks blocked. I've never seen anyone be vicious to Haiti or gaslight her. Like, have you? Fuck, my God. But since I'm calling her Haiti, you can safely conclude what she's like. Well, actually, I call her a childish name, so I think that sums it up. Like, I'm happy for you to draw some conclusions from this person calling me Haiti, actually. I'm fine with that. Draw any rational conclusions you want. She's an idiot troll who uses her socks to throw women off Twitter who disagree with her. Like, what are you how would you even do that? Like, how would you... Entire pages devoted to violent and sexually explicit imagery. Why is this related to me? What are you talking about? Haiti Monty, so I can't even... doesn't get any of this. We're relying on facts, logic, and reason. Haiti responds with mass reporting from us. Oh, okay. So I made hundreds of Twitter accounts to all mass report people. Of course, yeah, that's how I love to spend my time, logging into like thousands of Twitter accounts and then going and manually reporting everything. Oh my goodness. And then she says, we have all of these accounts blocked. Usually when they're Haitis, they quote tweet her. So if you ever quote tweeted me, you're probably one of the accounts that I control. You may actually be under attack by Haiti, and the likes will be from more socks. It's kind of pathetic when you think about it. Yeah, it is. It is, mate. I'll give you that one. So I'd just like to point out that everyone in the chat is just me on different YouTube accounts, sneakily typing under the table while I do a show to myself. And all of my followers on Twitter are all just me too, and I'm just completely invented. And no one actually believes in trans. Most trans people hate trans people actually, and they want to take trans rights away. And it's just the crazy TRAs like me who don't represent anyone, who make up support. Yeah, right, mate. Oh, this was a good one. So we've got 2 in a row from this person. I stand with JK Rowling. What a surprise. I said, so this is discussing, so LGBT Alliance said something, I think we covered it a few weeks ago. They said that gay bars should be allowed to exclude bisexual people because not all bisexual people, or bisexual people in opposite sex relationships. It's just kind of garbage. But then they were trying to justify it, and like all their followers are trying to justify why that completely garbage position was something that they went with. And they were saying, we need safe spaces. Don't you think that gay people should be able to have safe spaces? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, gay bars are a good thing. But gay bars are for LGBT people, for all of them, because they all face LGBT phobia, oppression, which all comes from the same places. It's all from the patriarchy. And it's also traditional and historic for gay bars to be a safe space that are literally safe spaces, as in one of the few spaces where it's actually physically safe to be openly LGBT, including trans people and including bisexual people. And of course, like, this is just the classic, they start at the end of the acronym and come for everyone once in order. So they all hate bisexual people. All of these anyone, gay people who are transphobic are almost inevitably biphobic as well. That's just a theme. Anyway, I said, if you want a safe space from bisexual people, you're biphobic. I think that's uncontroversial. Like, you don't need to be safe from bisexual people. There's no need to be safe from them. And then this person absolutely trounced me on the logic department, and they said, following that logic, if you want a safe space from rapists, you're rapist phobic. If you want a safe space from religious fanatics, you're a religious fanatics phobic. Well, do you know what, mate? I'm happy to be labelled as a rapist phobe. Note me down. Put it on my Wikipedia page. I don't have a Wikipedia page yet. Like, rapist phobic. Of course I'm afraid of rapists. Like, and I want a safe space from them because I don't want to be around people like that. Because I'm afraid of them. Because they will harm me. Because they're in actual danger. Unlike bisexual people. So that was a complete and utter failure. So I said, I'm happy to be labelled racist phobic. I'm not sure why you thought that was a dunk. Like, what a disastrous opinion. You could have picked something... Well, actually, you couldn't have picked anything better because it's a ridiculous point to be making. But then I don't know, I think that they just rebooted or something and said a load of garbage. So let's just try and read this out because I couldn't get my head around it when I read it. So this was in reply to me saying I'm happy to be called rapist phobic. They've said, if I would write I like flowers, you and your warriors would pile on me for not mentioning artificial flowers, painted flowers, crocheted flowers, knitted flowers, flowers from a parallel universe. You don't get logic, so no wonder that now you have a party. What? What are you talking about? How is that a comeback? Why is that related? If you said I like flowers, I actually wouldn't have seen it because I don't go on your Twitter because it's garbage. But like, why? What are you talking about? My problem isn't saying I like flowers. My problem is you saying bisexual people aren't allowed flowers. It's what they always do this. They attempt to take your very clear explanation of irrational prejudice, which harms people, and try and twist it in a way, like by replacing things that are meaningful for things that aren't meaningful, and they try and hide it. And this person has done a very bad job. It's the classic switcheroo. Like, if I take all of the words out and put different words in, then your point falls apart. Like, yeah, apart from this person wasn't even capable of doing that, so of course. Oh, this one's so funny. I stumbled onto this random guy's timeline. No one linked me this. I found it because he replied to something I said. And this was his top 3 posts. So he's got, if you can't define what a woman is, you can't identify as one. And he's got, males plus surgery plus strokes aren't women. And then just randomly in the middle, he's got, want to hear a joke? Katie Montgomery, that's it. And he'll be replying to my tweets and I'm like, this guy fancies me. It's so obvious. Like, that's what you thought when you first saw this, right? Like, this guy is a hate wank type. This is like an absolutely classic transphobic cis man who cannot keep his dick in his pants basically, and has to go around hitting on trans women but feels guilty about it because of transphobia, and so has to go around telling them what they are and like abusing them and stuff, but then like secretly wanks them. Like, absolutely guarantee that this guy has wanked on my pictures and also on trans porn, which is a disgusting thing of, but it's also kind of funny. And it's just like, that's literally within a quarter of a second of clicking on his profile. It's like, oh God, cringe. I think it's, yeah, chase for alert. Exactly. Anyway, this is one of his top posts. I can't remember if I found this a while ago. I had this on screenshot and I was just like, I remember seeing this at the time. So here is this guy's, same guy, his solution to the transgender toilet debate. So basically he's got 2 doors, and rather than men and women, he's got anyone and women. And that's his solution to the trans debate. Like, what, I mean, we don't need a solution because there's not a problem. But what you're implying here is that your problem is that you don't want trans women in the women's toilets. But the reason trans women go in the women's toilets is because even if you don't think that they're women, they do. Even if you don't think they should be there, they do. And so do all of their friends and family and everyone else. But so you putting women on the door and anyone on the door, or writing anything on the doors, isn't going to stop anyone. Nothing is going to change. All that's happened is you've changed one of the signs and people will just ignore them. And probably all the men will have a big fit because they'll get all grumpy about it, because of course they will. Ooh, Poppy's being noisy. I don't know if you heard that. But yeah, like, just an embarrassment. Like, there's so many. The thing is, and this is why you very actually rarely see solutions to the problems that gender critical people raise. They'll always talk about how, trans women are invading women's spaces and stuff. And then when you say, well, what is your solution? The reason you don't see many solutions is because they're all like this. There aren't any realistic solutions to banning trans women. It's completely impractical. You either have like toilet guards or some kind of electronic passport check or something, both of which are completely ridiculous, or you have the people given the legal ability to just throw random women who they don't like out of the toilets, which of course will be mainly cis women, or it relies on some kind of social convention, which we already do and already works. And so all of their attempts are cell phones, and they all get shredded. I mean, this one got 600 likes. It's embarrassing. Like, imagine thinking like, oh, that'll solve the problem. Now all the trans women who all think they're women I'm just going to use the other. They just use the men's toilets because you've relabeled it. Oh, it's the label. That's what's important. It's so embarrassing. So that's why you almost never see them proposing solutions to these things, because they're all nonsense. While we're on toilets, so we're coming to the end now. What are we doing for time? Doing all right. This is quite old. I'm not actually sure where this come from, how long, but I just rediscovered this. I saw someone posting it or something. I saw someone posting it seriously, by the way. This cartoon is absolutely incredible. I think it's a work of art. I think that it pretty much does sum up the gender critical position, but like not in the way they want to. So here we have 3 different art styles for some reason. A man who I think is a racial stereotype of a Mexican person, on the outside of the women's toilets, because the sign isn't on the inside, on the outside of the women's toilets, in a toilet which wasn't like square against the wall, it's like diagonal, doing a wee, and then for some reason this girl says mummy, that's not a lady, and then the mum, who obviously isn't the mum of the daughter because they're a different art style, and we all know art style is genetic, says, shush, we aren't allowed to speak the truth anymore. I mean, it's a good cartoon. Like, well done. I'm pleased that you drew it, to be honest. I think that if you ever get in a situation, like if this ever happens, then I'll concede. Ban trans women from the toilets, mate. If you ever find a diagonal toilet outside the women's with a racial stereotype of a Mexican man weeing in it. This is where we will end up if we don't act soon. Activist Mummy has posted this. Well done, Mummy. Oh, so I think we've got 2 more. So this is just like, this is totally unrelated, but most of what I do is arguing with transphobes, homophobes, and misogynists. And I actually had a whole section that I wanted to cover today on pickup artists, but I just ran out of time to edit it. I went brawling with a load of pickup artists and men's rights activists. I offended loads of them by saying that a pickup artist are a type of men's rights activist, but they're actually not, but maybe they are, I don't know, they're all idiots. But there was some really disgusting terms. Pickup artists are like they're cis men who train each other to rape women and get away with it, basically. Like, it's really fucking vile, and it's a lot worse than I thought it was. So I went arguing with a load of them, and I got loads of ridiculous comments from them. Didn't manage to get them. But as well as arguing with like the men's rights activists and the transphobes and the homophobes, every now and then I'll just step on something else just by accident. And I apparently angered this random 5G truther. I don't remember interacting with this guy. I had to search. I don't know if I ever have. If I have, it's from a deleted tweet long ago. He says so he has tagged me and 2 other random people into his tweet, just us 3, and both of them replied like, what the fuck is this? I don't know who you are. Which is also what I thought. I mean, he said, after experiencing unthinking prejudice akin to racism and abuse for daring to say that 5G is harmful, I've started trying to work out why some woke types are so prejudiced against 5G skeptics. You can read my conclusions here on Gab. I hope this helps these people to understand that prejudice can hurt people as much as something like racism and leads to them treating others more kindly in future. Unfortunately, mate, people laughing at your stupid conspiracy theory is not like racism. And so, no, I didn't read his post because I didn't want to click on Gab. It's just kind of amusing that you find all these ridiculous conspiracy theorists who think that Twitter has employed people to unlike a tweet. and then you just accidentally step into some whole new world. Like, I'm sure there are people like me who spend all day arguing with 5G people, or all day arguing with flat earthers, or all day arguing with, you know, and then they probably every now and then accidentally stumble into our world. And this is, you know, shout out to anyone who spends most of their time battling some other conspiracy theory who's just stumbled across this. So, you know, we're all in this together. So just thought I'd leave on this one. So this is my friend Christina, who is amazing. You should all go and follow her. I didn't ask her to put her in here, so I'm sorry, Christina, if this is annoying. But Christina's great. And she says, trans men can and do give birth. They are men. I mean, that's some facts for you. And this person, who is completely confused about what is being said, so let's get this right. A man can fuck himself to make himself pregnant. Oh, cis people. Why can't you just... It's so basic. So... So that's all our slides for today. Sorry for getting in rant mode a few times. I think that the JK Rowling thing kind of blew my mind to the level that so of the big people are into this thing, which is so plainly a conspiracy theory. And it's so plainly like cult-like behaviour, where they're having to like the sacred tweet every morning. And for what? To what end? Like, okay, your tweet gets 1 billion likes, then what? Like, nothing changes, no one cares. That tweet happened, it's in the past. It made a splash at the time because JK Rowling came out as transphobic. Like, that was a big deal. People talked about it for weeks and they're still fucking talking about it. But like, you liking her tweet literally makes no difference to anyone's life, ever. Never will. Never. And it doesn't do anything. And I think that I was trying to think about why they do this, and, you know, part of it is because all the rest of them are doing it, and it's just like some culty bullshit. But I think having the control of the social media, like, moral landscape is very important to them. And I think it's more important to them than it is to LGBT people or, you know, any of the groups they're targeting, because their views are dying. They are socially unacceptable, and they're becoming more socially unacceptable, and they know it. And so they need all of these like fake signals to show that some people, like, there are areas of the world, areas of the internet where their views are acceptable. And, you know, they know that people are starting to find them more like horrible, these views, because they're disgusting. And it's making them insecure. And so they need these like little signals like, oh no, it's okay, we're not the bad guys because this JK Rowling tweet has 230,000 likes. And I just think it's very important to them. So that's why it's become, like, that doesn't really explain why it's become so culty, but I guess that's the motivation. Poppy, what are you doing? Swiping me. Anyway, yeah, so it's been a week. So, thank you for sticking around, everyone. Lots of love. I've got the XX Factor tomorrow at 9 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. California time with Krista Peterson. And we've also got a guest who's an expert in anti-Semitism, and we will be discussing that. So that should be very interesting. And I'm also co-hosting The Line with Jimmy Snow on Sunday at 1 a.m. UK time. It's going to be really good. So thank you very much, everyone, and I will see you soon.